Yo, Lisa.
Hey, Bach. How's it going?
Good, thank you. Welcome, everyone, to a free association conversation between Lisa Grove and myself, Dr. Bach Ho. We're both organic intelligence coaches. We help people reduce suffering and increase capacity to handle more in life with ease using the protocols of organic intelligence. Links will be in the description to learn more about each of us. Lisa is a longtime client of mine and former NASA spacecraft systems engineer, a rocket scientist, who worked on missions like the Galileo spacecraft to Jupiter and the Hubble Space Telescope. And she has a master's in social work. You can reach out to Lisa for OI sessions, or to me, or to Lisa. Today, our topic is cognitive behavioral therapy versus organic intelligence. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, versus OI, organic intelligence. So today we have a David and Goliath battle. The Goliath, CBT, the biggest kid in the playground, in the universe, the highest regarded therapy, maybe that's true, or close to true, most well-researched or very well-researched. People say it's the gold standard of therapy, the Bitcoin standard of therapy. Aliens all over the universe love CBT. The David is organic intelligence, the new punk ass in the galaxy. Beautiful, but does he dance, as the Italian saying goes. So thank you for listening to my colorful intro. Lisa Grove, could you, even though CBT is so well known, could you briefly explain what is CBT, briefly do what is OI, and then get into examples of how CBT might approach something versus how OI might approach it, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. But forgive me that I don't have David and Goliath in my
Yeah.
in my thinking yet. We'll
Okay.
get like Bach said, OI aims to reduce suffering, and so does CBT. Both aim to reduce suffering and improve life, but they come at that from almost opposite angles. CBT works from the top down or the outside in. Since feelings and behaviors are influenced by what we think, a CBT therapist listens for places where a person's thinking doesn't quite match reality. Maybe someone was bitten by a dog as a child, and they somehow carried a thought, all dogs are dangerous. But now they're adult, but their body is still reacting. CBT helps change that thought, sometimes with logic, sometimes with gentle reframing, sometimes with exercises. It can take a while. But if the thinking changes, the emotion and the behavior often just change by themselves. Like if I felt tense around a coworker simply because he was different from what I grew up believing was safe or normal. A CBT therapist might help me see where that belief came from and help that thought update to something more realistic. And as that thought shifts, the fear that I feel might soften. If it doesn't, the CBT therapist might say, maybe there's some other thought we can work on in that same category. And then we'd work on that thought, and then maybe my fear would change. Organic intelligence works from the bottom up or the inside out. It assumes that the nervous system and the body are equally capable partners to our conscious mind, that they're working for our best, trying to heal, balance, and grow on their own. But things like trauma, overwhelm, illness, long-term stress can result in some of those inner abilities that they naturally have lessening, or even getting closed off to survive difficulty that went on for a really long period of time. Kind of like do not enter signs that once were needed for survival and never got taken back down. OI doesn't try to fix thoughts or feelings, not directly. It doesn't even go looking for outdated pieces like that. Instead, it creates a safe, supportive environment and a free-flowing conversation about whatever the client wants, because that's where the nervous system feels most supported and can most easily begin to restore itself and begin to increase its own capacity again, like it's naturally able to, but sometimes loses the capability. And then OI notices tiny cues where the inner system of the person in the chair or on the screen like this seems to be struggling. And the coach gives gentle, simple support at those places where the unconscious system seems to be struggling. OI focuses on helping the nervous system itself, and then it trusts the nervous system to take care of the rest. As the nervous system grows its capacity, the system creates more space to do its own work. Things it already knows how to do, but maybe it hasn't had space to do for a really long time. More space means lots of the backlog of unfinished business gets taken care of. There's less pressure. And even more healing of old wounds that the system really hasn't had space to get around to taking care of for a long time. So the person feels calmer and they begin to change towards more resilience, less stress, more equilibrium. Not because they tried to think differently, not because they tried to do something differently, but because their nervous system has less overload and more capacity, more space. Once there's space, the body's inner intelligence starts repairing more things automatically. Capacity grows, awareness grows, change shows up quietly. And when it comes from the inside out, it often seems so natural that you kind of don't even notice unless you happen to look in your rearview mirror, like looking back on your day and going, oh, I just did that thing that I haven't been able to do, and I didn't even think about it before. So if that person was bitten by a dog as a child, worked with OI, they might just realize one evening as they were thinking back on the day, hey, I was laughing and playing with the neighbor's puppy this morning. And I didn't even think about it before. I didn't think about it during, and I obviously hadn't thought about it until now. It was just normal. No effort, no strategy, just living. So when change happens from the inside out, you don't often notice it until you look back. You just are different.
Thank you. I want to actually discuss, yeah, the example you gave of being bitten by a dog. But I have but my instinct in the moment is to ask a question. I didn't plan on asking this, but I'm going to go with my instinct because it's free association.
We usually do drive off the road here, so it's
so
okay.
yeah. So my instinct is to ask you, um, Lisa, you can choose. You've chosen to work to go with an organic intelligence coach. Myself, obviously, that's given as fact. But let me ask you. So someone asks you, you could go to CBT. You could seek a CBT person, or you could seek an organic intelligence. You could go to CBT therapy, or you could go to organic intelligence. Lisa, why are you choosing organic intelligence over CBT? That's my instinctive question. Yeah.
Because I don't want to suffer anymore.
What? Okay, okay. That was very clean and simple and nice. I appreciate.
That's right what pops up. And I'll tell you what I mean by
Okay,
that.
all right. Yeah.
In therapy, you dig up old stuff and you look at it from every side. And sometimes the old stuff comes with old pain and old emotions. And that's hard. And it works, but it's difficult. OI is fun, easy. And the changes that show up when I'm doing OI are profound. I'd never even have thought to go looking for them.
Okay, so you're saying I appreciate your
Besides,
elaboration.
I don't like giants.
Well, okay, you don't like the big kid in the neighborhood. Okay, so you don't want to suffer, and you're saying you think you would. Organic intelligence is fun, and you heal,
Yes.
and you're saying if you were to go to CBT, you would suffer and heal, or suffer and heal.
Both.
You would
Both.
suffer.
I mean, I went to therapy for 20 years. So I know a lot about being a client of different therapy techniques. And there's, maybe for people who aren't working on recovering from trauma,
Yeah.
don't suffer. But I did.
Actually, somehow with you, I have the instinct to be devil's advocate because I think it's so.
Sure.
I'm
You're
going to be
wearing black. It's okay.
yes, black. The world is black and white. So I want to um why do you say why are you so sure you would suffer in a CBT session or with CBT work? I mean, it doesn't depend on the CBT person. Like I can help you
Yes.
read thoughts in a
Yeah, I would. So we're working with some thought. Maybe I wouldn't suffer, but in the old days, when I was doing CBT and other types of therapy, some thought would come up and I'd be like, oh, I don't really like that thought. Now that I see these other sides to that thought, I want to be a nice person. I want to be accepting. That thought's judgmental. I
Mm,
want to change it. So that's not really suffering, but I'm feeling bad about myself because I'm having that thought. And the thought occurred just naturally because that's how I was raised. It's not because I chose it, because I wanted to be judgmental.
yeah.
I just grew up that way and never noticed it until I went to therapy. So maybe there's not so much suffering involved in that.
Actually, I was going to ask you, you said maybe I'm not suffering, but I'm feeling bad, but isn't that what suffering is? So are you
Yeah, except that I've had such a range of suffering. It's like, well, is the suffering a 100 is the worst in your life, or is it a zero? And that the thought is like a 10 maybe out of 100.
you would so there would be some unpleasantness in cognitive behavioral therapy because the therapist is having you pay attention to your thoughts and confront thoughts and rework thoughts, and that can be inherently unpleasant, especially
Right.
when
Well,
a
and
thought.
and then the method that you're talking about, which is the do your exercises and do your homework method, that's uncomfortable and unpleasant because I don't want to have to work between sessions.
Oh, oh, right. With CBT, you normally get homework,
Might, yeah. I mean,
like,
that's some of it.
hmm. And with organic intelligence, you don't get homework. Well, the
No.
homework is enjoy life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't go, I mean, with therapy through the week, I'd be like, what do I want to work on in therapy?
Okay.
And in OI, it's like, I'm just showing up because stuff's going to happen and I'm going to change and I don't need to worry about it.
Okay. Thank you. So now let me ask you. So I'm still in like defend CBT mode. Um, I can see how CBT, to me, CBT makes sense. Like you were attacked by a dog, let's say, and you're scared of dogs. You think whenever you're near a dog, you think it's dangerous. So you go to CBT, and I'm the CBT therapist, let's say, and I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts? Oh, you have the thought dogs are dangerous. Let's examine that thought. Is that true? Is a beagle dangerous? What are the chances that that pit bull that's behind that fence is actually going to come out and get you? etc. So I can see logically how having you confront your thoughts and let's challenge your thoughts, how that might help you change your thoughts. And so therefore you're not afraid of dogs. So CBT makes sense to me. But now OI, you're just going to go talk to someone, chat and have fun. How the hell is that going to help? Sorry if the word hell offends you, but I just kind of,
It
I
doesn't
curse a lot.
bother me
So,
at all.
but
You're the
so
devil's advocate. It
yeah,
fits.
right. So how the hell am I gonna like? We're just gonna chat and have fun and talk about, oh, you had a latte today at Starbucks. Oh, how was the latte? How the hell is that gonna help you with your fear of dogs?
Because, well, I couldn't tell you on what schedule my fear of dogs would shift, but I've noticed enough changes because of doing OI work, which I've enjoyed a lot. I haven't thought about it in between sessions like, oh, I need to work on this or that. I've more and more I've come to trust my unconscious system, my body, my nervous system. They know where I'm sticking, where I'm having trouble. and they're continuously raising up. I don't know, maybe they're rebuilding foundations where the foundation caved in someplace, but all of a sudden I feel different, and I love feeling different and having more strength when I didn't even try to work on it.
Mm.
It's like visibly we can see when we cut our finger and we can watch it healing, but we don't necessarily know how long it's going to take or what's happening inside. Visibly, I can't see all of the wounds that working with OI has helped. But once they're healed, I can go, oh, there was a wound there. I'm doing this thing now that I
Mm.
couldn't do before. So there must have been a wound that I wasn't even seeing. So with OI, you don't have to see what your wounds are, and neither does the coach or the doctor.
You seem to be still devil's advocate. You're saying
Go for it.
with the fun OI sessions, you're getting unpredictable benefits in different areas of your life, and that's something you've said in our prior live streams. So
Right.
I am willing to grant you that. I'm willing to grant you that, but it sounds like you're saying maybe I won't get over my fear of dogs. Maybe another part of my life will open up, like my writer's block was resolved. My writer's block was resolved, even though I had never predicted that or even thought about it from OI fun work, but I still fear dogs. And I'm saying, yeah, but for the person who fears dogs, wouldn't it make more sense for them to go to CBT because they'll target the fear of dogs, whereas with OI you're just kind of having fun and you don't know what benefits will come at what time.
I can give a couple answers to that. If the person really wanted to only have their fear of dogs worked on, they could go to therapy and do a CBT therapist and say, I only want to work on the dog. I don't want to work on anything else. But therapy doesn't really work like that. At least not in my own experience. It's more like, let's find the lay of the land. Let's see where this fear of dog is connected.
Yeah.
Let's see where that thought might lead. Let's look at the differences and the other thoughts that might be connected, because we might have to work with more than just that one little thought. There might be some other ones that are related. And there's a lot of investigation and thinking on the part of the therapist and the part of the client if they're inclined to be investigative. And in OI, that's not necessary on either the therapist, the coach's part, or the client's part. And it's also true that with OI, the benefits I've gotten have really freed my life up just in general.
Mm.
So it's like, yeah, I still have that fear of dogs, which I never had. But wow, look at all this stuff I can do now that I couldn't do before. So if I went to a CBT therapist, I'd get that little piece, but I still wouldn't have any of those other things that I didn't really even have an idea that I was lacking.
Right.
So now that I've experienced that, it's like, why would I want to do that when I can do this that I know opens worlds?
I think I'm going to reflect one thing you said to make sure I get it.
Okay.
So I challenged you saying, why shouldn't I just go to CBT because I want to resolve my fear of dogs, whereas OI is more like diffuse and who knows what benefits will come. I think one thing you said was even if you go to CBT and you come in with your fear of dogs, the CBT work itself, you're going to inherently fan out into other thoughts. So it's not like so you're going to open up stuff anyway. And I think you were saying that could be more unpleasant because the focus is on thoughts and reworking, whereas in
Right.
OI, the focus is on fanning out what is actually available by way of pleasure. Is
Yeah.
okay. Um, I actually want,
Because pleasure is where the inner nervous system grows more capacity and is able to give you more.
yeah, I actually want to now talk myself about how organic intelligence might approach the fear of the dog. I want
Sure.
to, I'm interested in taking with not challenging the client's interest in resolving a specific issue. I know that a big part of OI is you don't know what benefits are going to happen when, and when you let loose and free associate, different benefits can come. But let's assume the client is pretty like, no, I'm coming to you because I'm afraid of dogs and that's what I want resolved. So I see how CBT would do it. How would OI? So here's one example. The client is saying, yeah, I was attacked last Saturday. I was on my way. I parked and I was walking to the cafe to meet my friend. And I'm an organic intelligence coach. I might come in instinctively in the moment, and it has to be instinctive in the moment and spontaneous. Oh, what friend? What cafe? I might say one of those two. I might say which friend or which cafe. And if you ask me, Bach, why did you make that intervention? Organic intelligence has to be spontaneous and you have to get an instinct about things. It's not like CBT where you have like a technical machinery in your head that you're following. It's I may just have an instinct. Okay, something he's going to talk about his being attacked by a dog, but he mentioned his friend in a cafe. Instinctively, what cafe, what friend? And one possibility is that, okay, so first of all, the fact that the client mentioned their friend going to a cafe with a friend means that the cafe and the friend are in their network, their associative network. It's in the thoughts in the
It's
neighborhood of the dog attack, let's say,
right
right?
in that part of memory.
Yes. And so the client is delivering or telling me that, okay, that's part of the network. And that my instinct is, well, that's probably more pleasant. So we're still talking about, so I guess we're not talking about the explicit content, the dog attack, but we're working within the network. And this is getting more technical than I had hoped.
I think
But
I can.
but no, let me continue. Let me take control.
Sure.
Thank you. I'm just commenting that I didn't intend to get this technical with you, but this just happens with our free association. So the client says, yeah, I love that cafe and I love that friend, and they just change into talking about their love of their friend and the bakery that they went to and had a good time. And it could be that whatever was happening there and whatever was happening in the client's biology was working out whatever that complex was in the associative network, and then they find they're not afraid of dogs. So
Right.
that's one example of how, because I don't want to imply that, oh, I can't resolve the thing that you want resolved. It's going to resolve some other thing that you didn't predict. It does do that, of course, but it does target what you want to target. But the means is you find what pleasure or positive valence, let me forget that term. Just you find what's good in the network itself. So you're staying on topic, even though you may not think you are from a CBT
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. So can I
Please, yeah,
re-explain that in my own understanding, make sure I get it? So let's say this is the area in your brain that has the dog experience that you mentioned and the cafe and the friend, and the dog and the fear take up that much space.
yeah. So okay, Lisa is holding her hands in a circle, and then she halved the circle to indicate like half of the real estate is taken up by the fear of the dog.
Right.
Okay.
And so what Bach was saying was, then we're going to go talk about what's pleasant about this whole memory piece. And in talking about what's pleasant, that piece grows bigger. The fear of the dog is still that same half of the original circle, but the pleasure got a lot bigger. So now instead of being half of the circle, the dog is only 1/4 of the circle. The fear is the same, but it's now in a memory space where it's only 25% instead of half. So because the memory space grew.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
it feels less because it's in a bigger space of pleasure.
The talking about what was pleasant, my friend, the cafe, the image I got was you're increasing the capacity overall in that conversation, and
And
the
within that spot of memory.
and the fear can somehow resolve itself within that greater capacity. That's interesting. And I'll add one more thought in the moment, which is that as you're talking about your friend in the cafe, it could be that I'm trying to not the concept of memory reconsolidation. Let me forget I said that. Forget I said that. You're at the cafe with your friend, and your friend tells a joke, and you're recounting that your friend told a joke, and then you laughed, and it was really funny, and you laughed a lot, and you were shaking, and you may be shaking in session, and that shaking may be connected to what your body needed to do after the dog attack, but now it's in positive valence. The shaking is from the laughing from your friend's joke, not from, okay, let's go back to the dog attack and process. It's
Right.
oh, your friend told a
But
joke and you were laughing.
yeah, and in session, if you're relating that experience and you're laughing again, your nervous system has the dog and the joke and the cafe all in active memory.
Yeah,
And so the laughing is pleasure, but the nervous system is also like, hey, we can release some of this excess energy we didn't get to release from the dog fear with that laughter that's shaking the body.
right, right.
So things shift again. The dog piece has less stored charge.
Yeah, right. Um, I wanted to, let's see, we have a couple minutes left. I want to land one point here.
Okay.
Um, it is fairly common that if you go to organic intelligence for a targeted issue, like I fear dogs, please resolve that for me, or whatever the issue is. A common situation is that may be one of the later issues that gets resolved because there's a sequencing to how the biology wants to resolve it. And usually people come in with their most intense problem. And from an organic intelligence perspective, the way to resolve that is to resolve the lower intensity issues first. I'll just give one example. So just a client, I'm coming to you with very painful facial contractions. It's very painful physically and emotionally, and a lot of social disturbance because I'm embarrassed in public. That is my. I was referred to you as an organic intelligence person. Can you help me resolve this? Yes, but it may be one of the later stages. So with this client, first anxiety went down. But that facial contraction still there, but anxiety went down. Then sleep improved. Then headaches went down. And then eventually, actually, the facial contractions went away, and that was a glorious, glorious victory. So awesome. But my main point here is I just got goosebumps. Let me just enjoy my goosebumps for just a few seconds, even though we're in live stream. I just want to enjoy my pleasure for. Okay. The point is that in many situations, what the client wants resolved will be the later one because it needs the organic intelligence work has to go up at a certain sequencing and levels of intensity to get to that most pressing issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the organic intelligence does it that way because that's the way the nervous system itself is doing it.
Yeah.
A
Yes.
little bit here, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Ah, finally, a little bit more, and we got it.
Yeah. Perfect. Um, I think a lot of things we've talked about here are worth pursuing in the future. Just a lot comes up in
Yeah.
technically, and the complexity is nice. We're on our time. Any final thoughts, Lisa, on cognitive behavioral therapy versus organic
I think
intelligence?
David won.
So the beautiful boy can dance.
Yeah.
Sorry,
He
I
can
like
really throw a good rock.
okay. Okay. So try out organic intelligence. Lisa is available for sessions. I'm available, and Lisa is available. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.